Welcome back to A Man in a Sea of Lies, and we continue with this charade, which is completely beyond me. I listen to the radio, watch some news on YouTube, and not much on television, but some YouTube stuff, and listen to two or three shows in my car as I work every day on the radio. And this charade with the trade negotiations with the United States of America just continues to amaze me to no end. I don't quite understand where these people are coming from, and they're all of them are singing from the same songbook, and all of them accuse the U.S. administration and Donald Trump of sort of bullying them and making it kind of a one way street with these negotiations. And to me, I don't know if I'm came from different planet or something, but the only bullying I see and hear is from Doug Ford and from Mark Carney. You know, Ford again was on CNN again last year with those stupid commercials, and I don't know how they want to score any points. But this kind of tactic to constantly, belittle and attack the U.S. administration and the president, especially, you're not gonna have any qualifiers here that Trump is this or Trump is that, and no qualifiers here. Well, not very many anyway. But these people, especially Ford and Carney, they I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with these kind of tactics. Like I said, the only one-way conversation that I see happening is via Canadian media, and these people like Vasi Capellos. She has her moments and stuff. I don't dislike her. She often just kind of sits quietly as some of her panelists just spew this complete garbage nonsense. Like for example, my favorite, what's his name, Scott Reed, you know, political commentator for CTV. A couple of days ago, I saw him on the panel, and I don't know what's happening in his head. I've mentioned this before, but he came up with this sort of a idea that we have to wait until Donald Trump is weak because of the war and because the upcoming midterms. So we have to wait until the Trump administration is really weak, and then we can score something with our negotiations. And they all talk about fairness, it's like the last 20 or 30 years never happened. They have no idea how the trade went, obviously, because they're talking complete garbage. And on top of it, for me personally, this kind of conversation is kind of strange because I grew up in a communist country, and I watched and read media extensively as a young man growing up, and I tell you, this reminds me precisely of that. Everybody's saying the same thing, using the same kind of slogans and the same kind of vocabulary and the same kind of ideas. Like, nobody can come up with anything unique or anything like that, and it's all over the TV, all over the legacy media, radio, and on top of that, they complain that the social media is such a source of garbage and false information. In the meantime, that's exactly what they're selling. So all this charade and all this attacking of the U.S. administration in the midst of these negotiations, Like I don't know what the hell they expect to happen. I don't know what they think how the Americans are going to react to this. I'm not saying we should be afraid and not negotiate fairly with the U.S. negotiating team and so on. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that they're constantly attacking the Americans. And this is nothing new, by the way, for me. I've observed this since I came here over 40 years ago. The first few things I couldn't believe when I moved to Toronto was, we used to have protests in front of the U.S. consulate all the time in Toronto. The first ones I remember was because the Americans were testing their cruise missile back then in Alberta. Right? This is in the worst part of the Cold War. We needed these weapons for deterrence, and all I saw, and ever since then, it's been the same story over and over again. We shamelessly attack the Americans all the time. It's got nothing to do with fairness. It's got nothing to do with this being a two-way street. We're not allowing this to happen ourselves. And on top of it, of course, that Donald Trump is going to go away eventually. Then what? I don't know how many times I have to ask this question. Are we that stupid? I don't know what's happening to us. I really don't. And we're doubling down on this kind of rhetoric all the time. I'm not sure why. To me, it looks like I'm sort of an outsider a little bit, and to me, it looks like we have this kind of thing in our Canadian DNA, anti-Americanism. We still refuse to put certain things on the table when it comes to negotiations. Things I've talked about this before: softwood lumber, or dairy industry, you name it. It's a load of crap. It's protectionism at its best. And the Americans, this has been part of the conversation with the Americans for decades now, and we'd always protect it like it was some sort of a, noble thing to protect. So on one hand, we're talking nonsense about protectionism of the Americans. In the meantime, that's exactly what we're doing. And this kind of talk reminds me exactly how the communist media and the communist politicians behaved back in the day when I was a kid, growing up. They all sang from the same songbook. They all were saying the same slogans, using the same kind of conversation. They all they controlled the media all the time, right? And they always blamed everything on this rotten Western countries, all the failures of so-called socialism. In reality, was communism, of course, right? And this reminds me to those days to no end, and it scares the bejesus out of me. The history and the literature is right there. Everything is right there. All the information you need is right there. And we continue to behave like complete morons when it comes to our relationship with the United States and pretty much politics in general. Sorry, I've been not feeling well all week. And this tonight is Thursday night, and for the first time, I kind of got some strength, and I have something to say today. So, I know Canadians are not buying that kind of talk. I realize that we kind of knee-jerk react to these kind of things all the time, right? We're not thinking about things clearly. You're not thinking about the politicians clearly, They lie. They talk about different things every day. They change their mind about something, and they talk like it's normal. Everything I see, in the media, like the legacy Canadian media, it's all the same stuff. How can it be possible? Back in the day, I remember when I came here, I was still a kid, but we had old style journalists and some politicians who, wrote opinion pieces to some newspapers, and they warned people that the direction we're heading with Canadian politics it's not great, and it's not going to end well for now. Now, the time has come now, to deal with these kind of things. And what we do instead? We're doubling down on the bullshit. That's what we're doing instead. That's all I have for you tonight. So long.